Okay.
Sorry about that. Cool. So now what do we think is going to happen when I click this button?
Oh shoot, I'm not muted. Can you go back to your JavaScript and then I can answer the question on the spot? Document query select H1 inner text. Oh, when you click the button, it's going to it's going to find the H1 element and it's going to put a fucking events are cool.
Let's check it out. Hey, it works. So it's really that simple. I put an event listener on some node. I tell it the event to listen for, and then I run a callback function. If you can actually understand all of those things, you're doing well right now. Like already, if those all just instantly click, then you're doing well. Now let me show you some pitfalls associated with that, because this is where things start to maybe get a little scarier. Normally, you don't see it written like this. What you will see is, does anybody know what ES2015 functions are? I'll give you a hint. You use them. Does anybody have an idea?
Rockets,
arrow functions. What we're going to do is don't worry too much about learning exactly why right now, but I just want to show you that the other way that you're used to seeing this, it's actually the same exact thing. It just might not feel like it. Okay. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to do what I know how to do here and convert this to an arrow function. Okay. So here, bam. And now let's see if it still runs the same. Hint, hint. Oh, actually, if I do an arrow function, I do have to move this up. Don't worry about that for right now. Just know that the order matters when you're using arrow functions. Does not matter with the regular functions. Don't stress about that. Anyways, just to prove to you that this is also literally just a function, it works the exact same way. Bam. I clicked to the button. Fucking events are cool. It still works. Awesome, right? Nice. That's the first thing. Now, the other trippy part of this is that the way that you will see it is you are going to see anonymous functions. An anonymous function, all that it is a function without a name. That's it. Sounds really trippy, but in practice, watch this. Ready? I am literally just going to chop the name off of this. Bam. I'm going to take this and I'm going to replace callback with it. Oh, whoops. That's not what I wanted to do. Hopefully this works. Let's see. Yep, there we go. Got to get rid of that. And now let's see if it still works. Boom, it still works. Okay, so ask me some questions about that. That is trippier, a lot trippier than event listeners are at first, I think. That's a trippy concept. So somebody fire off some questions.
So you don't need a name. Oh, because in that situation at event listener, you're just telling it the function. You don't need to declare anything. It's just when this happens, do this.
Everything from here to here is just a function. So I'm just inputting the function directly rather than giving it a name to reference the function.
Interesting. Oh, and this is going to affect both buttons.
What?
This is going to affect both buttons because both buttons are button elements, and you don't have like a class or an ID. It's not going to affect
both buttons. The reason why is because what does this select?
I wasn't paying attention for that one. What does that select?
Yeah, tell me what this selects.
The variable my button.
It creates a variable called my button, but what element on the page does document.querySelector select?
Button.
Okay, and since I didn't do query selector all, which button?
Oh, it's only going to do the first one it finds.
Beautiful, exactly.
Ooh, so if you did do query selector all all of the buttons are going to change that H1 element into.
Then we would run into a different problem.
Ooh.
The problem that we would run into if we did this, let's actually show it. Oh, look, my button.add event listener is not a function because now I've made this my button variable. It's not actually a button anymore. It's a list of buttons. So what I would actually have to do is iterate through each of them and add an event listener. Does that make sense? We're not going to do it that way today, though. Cool.
Do anonymous functions work because you don't need any like inputs for them, no arguments or parameters, like you just executing the code inside of it?
You can still put arguments inside of it. In fact, we're going to do that really soon. The reason why they work is because I don't need to reference it anywhere else. I just put it right here.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Okay, cool.
So I put an anonymous function here, and I don't need to have it outside of here because I'm not using it anywhere else. I'm only using it right there. So it's like, let's think about readability, right? For me, this is more readable because when I look at it, I can tell, when I'm looking at this thing, I could tell, oh, okay, now I can look at all my code without having to like reference some other function. Like I could see all of it right there, so I know what's going on. Now, there might be times where you want to reference another function. We'll talk about that at other times. You're probably not even going to really get into that until you get into React. But the truth is that for now, 9 times out of 10, when you see these callback functions, they're going to be written like this. And if you want to, you can try switching between the two. Right? Cool. Awesome. So I'm just going to review some. I want to make sure that everybody understands what's going on here. We are going to go back to these notes here, and we are just going to delete. Actually, we're not going to delete it. We're just going to add a bunch of white space. So hold up. Woo. Cool. Okay, so my question. What is X? Alex.
No, don't choose me. I wasn't really paying it. Well,
You are chosen. What is X?
X is hold on, don't tell me. Nobody tell me anything. X is this is really dumb. Okay, hold on one second. I got it. Hold on. X is, there we go, my screenshot. X is some kind of DOM element.
Beautiful. Give me an example of one that you would add an event listener to.
Maybe like a form or like a div, and I can click anywhere in the div.
Beautiful. I love it. Great job. Good work. Proud of you. All right.
Thank you.
Next question. Oh, fuck me. God damn it. What goes in here, Luke?
That's going to be the basically what the event is going to be, like click, load, or submit, or hover, key up, key down, or DOM content loaded.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right, Kat, what is Y?
It's going to be the callback function we want to run.
Exactly. And what is a callback function? I don't actually say this, but maybe you'll get it. There's probably a good chance you don't actually know the definition of a callback function, but I'm a savage, so give it a shot.
It's a function that runs when you call it back.
Okay, that's correct, but there's a better definition for what a callback function is. In the case of like an event, that was perfectly correct, but just so you know, a callback function is actually a more general term. I didn't actually tell this to y'all yet, so don't even worry about it. But it's when you use a function as an argument, it's considered a callback function. Cool. All right. Now, if you thought you were safe because everybody answered this, you're not. We're doing the same thing over again. So let's see who hasn't spoke yet. Oh, Jeff. Jeff, what is X?
X is some sort of DOM element.
Yes, X is some sort of DOM element. And Mary Beth, what goes in here?
So that's like the event that is going to happen.
Be a little more specific than the event that's going to happen.
It's like the name of the event.
The name
So
of
it's
the
like
event. I'm going to make you aware of in a few minutes why I want you to say the name of the event. You'll understand a little bit more as to why, just so you know. But cool. All right. And Colton, what is Y?
It's the callback function that gets executed.
Beautiful. Grant, what is X?
Sorry, I was muted. X is a DOM element.
Nice. Obina, what goes here? See there? Maybe with us. It's all good. It's all good. All
Said it
right.
in the chat.
Oh, he said it in the chat. Who reads the chat? No, I should read the chat. And a reality game show host. An event name. Yes, that's correct. It's an event name. And what is Y? Who haven't I called on yet? I called on Colton, I'm pretty sure. Will has been answering. I don't even need to call him out. He's been calling himself out. Sam, I haven't called on you, Sam.
I can't answer that question with Y being there, because every time I see that, I swap X and Y because the callback function is what actually yields something. So in my head, I get DMX's X gonna give it to you in your head every single time. So I can't answer Y for that.
All right, you know what?
That's my mnemonic for that.
Hang on a second. I got you.
Thank you.
All right, what is X, Sam?
Well, X is the callback function that is going to yield to you what you want.
So what you're saying is X go give it to you.
There we go. Cool teacher
Good.
points. Cool teacher points for that one.
Excellent. All right, sweet. All right, now let's try some cool stuff here. So now what I want to do is I'm going to switch some things up and throw y'all for a loop. Instead of referencing my button, we are going to actually do the button container. Cool. And now we're going to call this button container. So now our DOM element is our container for the buttons. And here this has to be button container. And then we're going to get rid of this callback function for now. But what I want to do is I want to create some functionality that says, if you click button 1, it console logs, you clicked button 1. If you click button 2, I want it to console log, congrats, motherfucker, you clicked button 2. Cool. That's what we want to do here. So what my question is, does anybody have an idea of how I could do that with how this is set up right now? Hint, hint, I haven't taught it yet. So you'd only know this if you ran ahead in the material. Go for it.
Bubbling.
Bubbling. Ooh, actually, kinda, sorta. Bubbling ties into this, but I would say there's a really good thing that I'm going to throw in here. Every event callback function has an event object that gets put through. Mary, you remember that time that I told you that I didn't want you to say event specifically because, and I wanted you to say event name? This is why, okay? So what?
I was gonna say, could you grab it by just doing? I mean, because button container is now like your highest level, like right now in the DOM. Could you just grab it with button container.query selector?
You could, but this is better. All right, ready? Let's give this a shot. The first thing I want to do is all I want to do is console.log this event object. Now, something I want to make clear is that this event object gets passed into a callback function for any event listener. Somebody spit that back to me. In fact, I'm just going to call on someone. I'm going to call out Jeff. What did I just say? It's okay if you don't get it right the first time because I'm going to call on like 3 people after you.
I'm not sure, honestly. I fully understand the question. Can you ask me again?
Okay, I'm just going to say it again, and I want you to just regurgitate it to me, okay? The callback function for an event listener always plugs in an event object. Say that back. It's okay if you fuck it up. I'm terrible at memory. That's why I'm going to have everyone say it a million times.
The callback function for an event listener always plugs in an event object.
Cool. Mary, say the same thing.
The callback function for an event listener always plugs in the event object.
All right, Jack.
The callback function for an event listener always plugs in the
All right.
event object.
Yep, the event object. Exactly. All right, Luke, give it a shot. Air horn.
The callback function of an event listener always plugs in an event object.
Great. All right, now let's look at what the fuck this event object is. So what am I going to do? I'm just going to fucking console log it, and we're going to see what happens. Boop. Holy shit. This thing is fucking huge. Look at all these different properties it has. Oh my God. Well, the good news is we don't have to look at all these properties right now. Just kind of know that this event object is something that's like, it's a big thing and it has a lot of properties on it and it could be confusing. It could be fun to dig around this and see what kind of stuff you could pull out. But for now, just know it's an object that you can do things on. It has methods attached to it. It has properties on it. It has all of this shit. Okay. The thing that we want to look at right now is a property on it called event.target. I want y'all to, everyone write down event.target and just start thinking about like what you can do with an event.target, what it's there for, why we got it, why we're using it, why I'm talking about it so much, why I'm so excited right now. Cool. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to click this button. Does anybody have an idea what's going to get console logged? If I console.log the target of this event.
The button 1 element.
Oh, beautiful. Bam. I grabbed that whole element. Let's take a look at what happened here. So here, my event listener is not attached to a particular button. My event listener is attached to all of these. So when I click on a button, the target of that event is the thing inside of that container element that I clicked on. Now, this actually is event bubbling. I'm not going to talk about that right now, but this is event bubbling. I just think it would be, there's really a small set of things I want y'all to really conceptually grasp about event listeners for this lesson. That's the most important part. The event bubbling is not really the most important part of this conversation. Definitely something you should know about. We're just going to deliberately ignore that today, though, because what I really want y'all to understand is this whole thing is the second argument, and it's a callback function. This is the name of the event that you are adding, and this is the element that you are adding it to. And then the fourth thing and the last thing really that we're going to go over today is that you can grab that event target. So now if I wanted to, I can do some logic in here. Since I know that that event target is that button, I can say, I don't know, if event.target.innerText equals, I don't know, button 1, I don't know, we'll say alert. Holy shit, you pressed button 1, else if, whoops, Ah, Lord. Else if events dot target dot inner text equals button 2, whoops, button 2, we're just going to say alert holy shit balls, you pressed button 2. And then we're going to even throw another statement in there, which is like, let's say you click somewhere inside of the container, but you didn't actually press a button at all. We're going to throw an error this time. See if I can fuck it up. Throw new error. I never do these, so it'll be a fuck.
You never make errors.
I need to do it more often. Throw, maybe it's like this. I think that might do the trick. No, let's see. We're just gonna cheat. Throw, oh, that was not very specific. Do. Oh, so it is lowercase throw. I had it right. Okay, there we go. Cool. We'll talk about what throwing an error does in a second. It's not super important. I'm just kind of casually trying to show y'all some nifty tricks, but if that's something that stresses you out, don't worry about it. Okay, so let's say I click right here in between the buttons. Holy shit. I guess I clicked on button 1. So let's click button 1. Holy shit, you pressed button 1. Holy shit. Oh, what the fuck just happened there? Well, something really weird is happening.
Don't you have to use like double or triple equals in your if statements?
Oh yeah, what the fuck am I doing? Oh my gosh. That is exactly what's going on. That is one of the dumbest mistakes I've ever made in my life. That's not true. That's actually one of the benefits of programming is even if you feel really stupid, think about how not bad that was on my life. Like that was really not a huge, like let's say you were like wanted to be a professional snowboarder and you fuck up and then you like tear your ACL and you're fucked. Like this comparatively, not a big deal. That's why we get excited about errors here. Sweet. So now if I click here, oh, uncut error. Fuck. That's the error statement. Cool, that was fun. And now when I click on the button 2, it says, holy shit balls, you pressed button 2. I click on button 1, it says, holy shit balls, you pressed. Oh, it actually just says, holy shit, you pressed button 1. I should probably fix that. Awesome. Sweet. All right, now would be an excellent time to just fire some questions at me. Some of those questions could be like, what should I work on to practice these? I don't know, whatever the fuck you want to ask me some questions.
What is DOM content loaded?
Oh, good question. DOM content loaded. Here's what I'll tell you what I used it for. The way that we traditionally taught it, and I really don't like it, would be as an alternative to the defer. I always use the defer. I never use DOM content loaded for that purpose. But let's say I want to do that. First, let's actually just let's do we're going to do an event listener. So one of the nodes you can access is your document. Your document is like your whole page. And I could do document.add event listener. And we'll go. So when this whole DOM loads, it just triggers this callback function. Looks exactly like any other event listener. The only difference is this one fires when the DOM content loads, except for this should not say loads. It should be loaded. And now we're just going to say console.log. Yo, bro, everything loaded. Bam. Cool. And guess what? all it does is run once because it runs when the document loads. That's all that it does. What you will sometimes see is, let's say I get rid of this defer. Okay. Awesome. Cannot read property add event listener of null, and that's on line 3 because I got rid of this defer, right? So what does that mean? That means that this whole object, it came through as null. Why did it come through as null? Because what's the order in which things occurred here? First, it loaded in the JavaScript, and when it loaded in the JavaScript, it didn't actually know about any of the HTML that was created down here. So when I tried to find it, it wasn't there, right? So what I could do now instead is I can wrap everything in this DOM content loaded. And now if I give this a save, cool. Now everything should work just fine because what I'm saying is don't run any of this JavaScript code inside of here until after the DOM content loads. Does that make sense? So now still works. It's basically just like an alternative to a defer in this case. If you're curious, I can show you how I actually used it recently in my website, just for funsies. So what I did was I went to, whoops. Let's do nice. So what I did in my personal website, it was actually kind of useful because basically, I guess I didn't really need a DOM content loaded. I just think it made more sense. What I did was I went to my index.html, which has nothing on it, and I went to this load.js file, and in here I did a DOM content loaded where I basically just said, okay, since there's nothing on my home page, route it straight to the about page. I'll show you what I mean by that. Let's say I run this guy. Let's see. I'll get to see my hideous website. There it goes. There it goes. Come on, baby. Localhost 3002. What just do this? Cool. Oh, what the fuck is that? Do I need to do about? Was I CD'd into the? Oh, I think I was CD'd into the wrong. Yeah. Look, we make those mistakes too. So if you ever feel like I'm a terrible programmer, I'm not CD'd into the right folder, we all do that, especially me. Cool. So basically, I just made it to where as soon as it loaded localhost 3002, it said, actually, instead of loading localhost 3002, just go to the about page. That was why I used a DOM content loaded. This is my terrible page that I need to fix. Here's the page that I spent all last week working on. Oh, wait, there's a modal in front of it. I have to fix that. But yeah, you can flip through videos when there's not a giant modal on the screen. There's a contact page with only GitHub logos that don't work. I have a lot of work to do, but it's okay. I am soon to be unemployed and we'll have plenty of time to work on that. Nice. All righty. Any other questions? Oh yeah, we're on 6-month contracts, the instructors, so that's just kind of the way that works. But so be it. Any other questions? Someone's got to have a question. Come on, event listeners are confusing as fuck at first. I'm not that good of a teacher. Someone's got to have more questions.
Are we gonna have to worry about like the use capture at any point?
No.
Okay.
I've never used that to date. That's why I didn't even bother talking about it. But use capture, if you did want to read ahead, or read on your own, event bubbling is sort of the way that events get triggered. So I could go down this rabbit hole for a second. We actually have time. We're doing well on time. So it's actually just know that you don't have to learn this part really yet. Okay. Here's the way I think about event bubbling. Let's say I have an HTML file, right? Looks like this. I literally just take this whole thing. Imagine taking this whole thing and rotating it 90 degrees to the right.
You're not sharing your screen.
Oh, shit balls. Okay.
Your visual aids are great though.
Yes. So imagine I take, this is the actual HTML for my website. So just FYI. It doesn't matter to y'all, but whatever. My website. Hey, have y'all seen my website yet? Have y'all seen my website? But okay. So imagine this is HTML here. This is a super easy HTML file, right? I want y'all to imagine this like, oops. I want y'all to imagine this, but like rotated 90 degrees to the right to where like this is the bottom of a floor. We're going to draw it out now. So we'll use this exact example because it's just so simple. I'm going to go to a whiteboard app. All right, the outermost layer, HTML. Boop. Outermost layer, we'll call it HTML. This is what I mean by rotated sideways. Nested in that, we have head tag. I'll put it here. Okay, so this is going to look something like that. Nested inside of that, we have a head tag. Actually, I don't really want to do it like this. Hang on a second. Our head tag is actually going to start here. And let's just pretend like we have a body here. So these are on the same level. So let's say this is a head. Body. Boop. And then on the next layer, maybe we have some stuff. So maybe here we have some script tags. We'll have some different elements. So we'll have like, I don't know, script. Sure. Link. Sure. Whatever this is, we'll give it another link. Cool. And then maybe this body will have some elements too. We'll have, let's do a, this is going to look kind of ugly, but I think it'll give you the idea. Section. Cool. Maybe this will be a div, whatever. Then nested deeper, maybe I have, boop, one LI element or something like that. And let's just stick with that for now. What event bubbling is saying is, let's say I click inside of this section. I have an event listener on this section, right? Or better yet, let's say I put an event listener on this whole body, right? What event bubbling is saying is that it starts, this event starts at the deepest element, okay? And then it literally bubbles to the surface. So the first thing that triggers this event is this guy right here. Let's say I click on this LI, right? If I click on that LI, the first thing that triggers this event is this LI element. If this doesn't trigger the event, then the section will be triggered. If this doesn't trigger the event, then the body will be triggered. Does that make sense? And the order in which this occurs is bubbling. Capturing works the opposite. With event capture, I start on the outside and I actually move down. So that means if I were to click anywhere on the body, the first object that would see that event would be the body. And then, you know, it would move down that chain on how it was seen. Is anybody confused by that? Okay, it's trippy. It's a weird concept. The real one that you should focus on right now is bubbling. So bubbling, it's like, let's say I click on, I mean, it happened in our project. Is it still running? Let's say I were to click on, I don't know, this header, right? In the chain of things that get called, this li gets called first, then maybe the div that holds this header together gets called, then maybe this whole header gets called, then the whole body gets called. And it happens from most deeply nested to most shallow nested. And the process of that like bubble moving up, so like let's say a bubble starts here and it moves here, hits both of these, and then it moves here, blah, 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 blah. It's the ugliest bubbles anybody's ever drawn. The process of that moving up is called propagation. Don't stress on it right now. If you're struggling to wrap your head around this, stop. I command you. Stop stressing about it. Stress about the simple stuff first. You'll get a lot more out of it. I implore you. Cool. Most people don't learn really what event bubbling is until their Mod 4 code challenge. So if you feel like you don't get it, chill. You're good. Take a chill pill. You're doing fine. Awesome. Any other questions? Ryan, I know you're about to ask a question. Just do it.
I have a question about switch cases. Like
switch cases, sure.
So like I am just confused. Like, what is the benefit of using a switch statement instead of if else, basically? And like, when should we use it, and when like are they just like interchangeable, basically?
So they're not interchangeable. You can often restructure your code to use a switch statement instead of an if statement. Let's take a look at how they work though. Great question. Even though it has nothing to do with event listeners, it's still a great question. And we're kind of done on event listeners anyways. Let's look at a switch statement. Let's do JavaScript. Okay, cool. All right, am I sharing my screen? Yeah. Sweet. So here's an expression. And then now there's different values for that expression, right? So switch statements are really best used when this expression evaluates to some different values. Does that make sense? So like, let's play around with that for a second. I gotta close out of this guy.
Because I was just wondering, is there a way we could have used the switch statements inside of the button container that we were working on instead of the if else?
Yes, but it takes some refactoring. So what I would do is maybe make another function that classifies what the button is. So for example, classify button. And maybe in here you input a DOM element. And here you can basically, okay, I want to check to see what, maybe like what's inside of here. So here we could say, I don't know, return DOM element. In this case, it would just be dot inner text, right? And then if I wanted to like refactor this, let's go ahead and grab that switch statement. I never use switch statements because there's usually a better alternative to them. Oh, fuck. There we go. Get rid of this. So maybe what I would do is I would say, well, first I'm just going to take these and get rid of that. alert. And then we're gonna go cool. It's obviously not going to be X, Y, and then we could have default, right? Cool. This works out nicely. Get rid of this. Oh, and then the default will be throw new error fuck. Okay. So now what I have to do is I have to have an expression on what this button equals. So what I might say is like, oh, okay, my expression in this case, or we'll call button type const button choice equals like that classify button function, and we'll pass in that event dot target, and then in here we'll input that button choice, and now we need to create the different cases. So maybe the case for that button choice is button 1, or maybe the case for this button choice is button 2, and now everything should work the same. Let's give it a shot. Cool. Bam, still works. Does that make sense? So the thing is that this has to be like a value that the expression evaluates to. So in this case, since this is expression evaluates to, oh, okay, what do you do with button 1? What do you do with button 2, right? Since the expression evaluates to that, it works nicely. But a better refactor of this that might trip you up at first would be, instead of doing a switch, you can do something called a dispatch. This is kind of cool. Dispatch equals, and this is actually called a dynamic dispatch. Don't worry about exactly what it is, but you could actually use key value pairs here and store, wait for it, anonymous functions. So this will be a good trippy one.
What the fuck?
Yeah, this one's gonna trip you up. It's okay if it does. You definitely don't have to know this right now. But just so you get an idea. If you could actually use these already, you're too good at programming. Get the fuck out of here. And the default one is kind of tricky. So default, you could do this, but let's see. What did I just do? Let's see. This matches. Oh, see, this is why I fucking hate the DOM. I might have just defer in there. It's already pissing me off. Always throws me off. Let's see. My dispatch starts here and here. So what I need here is another closing thing. Cool. So if this is my dispatch, right? So what these are a bunch of key value pairs that basically choose a function. And what I do is I choose that function based off of my button choice. But the thing is, then you have to make sure that your default works, because this default, like this is just an object now that you're indexing out. So you have to throw some logic in here, and you basically have to say button choice. I think in this case, your do does not equal that. And then you can do a ternary to say index it at button choice. Otherwise, index it at default. Bam. And then what you can do, if that's your dispatch, you just invoke that. And it just happens faster and looks fancy. See if it works. I don't know that the default will work, but I'm pretty sure the other one will. Refresh. Oh, what the fuck? Bam. Hey, it works. That works. This works. Let's see if the default works. I feel like I give it a. Nope. Probably got an error message in there. Dispatch is not a function. Let's see. What I want to do is console.log. This would be a good way to debug that. Get off my screen. Oh, that's the wrong one. Cool. Let's see what I get when I click on that little white spot. Button 1, button 2, it clicks on both of them. I don't know. That's weird. I'm not even going to worry about that. Oh, I guess, yeah, because it's all of them. I don't know. Anything I would do after this point would be hacky. There's a better way to do this, but the trick is figuring out when you didn't click on any button. That's one thing that's nice about the switch statement is the default is super easy to figure out. But here you have to like use some logic, and this logic is just incorrect. I think what you would check to see is if there's a way to check the type of element. So what I would probably do, node name. So what I could do, actually I could take care of that here. I could say node, I could say return DOM element dot node name is equal to, I think it would just be button. Then we return what we were going to return, else we would return default. And now I think I could just return button choice. I'm just programming in front of y'all now. Sorry about that. But I figure after a good lesson, who gives a fuck, right? Let's see if this works. Oh, that checked default, right? Huh. 18. What did I mess up? Oh. Oh, I didn't mess anything up. It did the exact error that I wanted, which is say fuck. I was like, what did I mess up? Let me look at this error message. Oh, wait a second. The error message says fuck. That's not a JavaScript error message. Cool. Any questions? Sweet. Fun times. This way of doing things, by the way, is good practice where you have like a container for buttons and you put one event listener for all of those buttons. That's called event delegation. If you're curious. Cool beans. Alrighty. Go fucking eat lunch, you fuckers. Big hearts. Big hearts. Later.
Thank you.
You got it. Peace.